Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Oliver. Today we are going to review the weather for today. Yeah, and it's not looking so good for the plains, so yeah. Let's go ahead and go here. Alright, so today we got a enhanced risk. Alright, so first of all, we got a slight risk from marginal risk from like South Texas all the way up to like South Dakota. Then it's gonna go along kind of like Kentucky to the east, and it's gonna go up towards like southern Maryland, northern North Carolina and stuff. And then there's a slight risk from about like in between Midland and Fort Stockton, Texas, all the way through like most of central Oklahoma, most of Kansas, most of Nebraska, parts of Iowa and Missouri, and South Dakota. And then there's an enhanced risk for barely part of South Dakota, a lot of Nebraska and Kansas, and then we got another slight risk along the Ohio River kind of thing, and then like half of the southern half of West Virginia, and then almost all of Virginia, and then southern parts of like near the Chesapeake Bay region, and clipping just parts of North Carolina. Then another enhanced risk in like eastern Virginia. And yeah, so let's go on to the tornado. So we got a 2% risk from in between Midland and Fort Stockton, Texas, from South Texas, and it goes all the way up for most of Oklahoma. That goes into like parts of Iowa, Missouri, parts of most of Kansas, and most of Nebraska and South Dakota. And we got a 5% risk. So yeah, we got this southern part here, and then 5% risk from like South Texas, like Central Texas, all up through like a lot of Oklahoma, and then most of Kansas. And I actually live in Oklahoma City, so I'm part of the 5% right here. Yeah, and then most of Kansas, just barely clipping parts of western Missouri and Iowa. Again, then parts of Nebraska and very, very South Dakota. And then 10% hatch risk, like in between, kind of like going from the Kansas Oklahoma border, like right on there, all the way up until like north Nebraska. And yeah, that's basically the tornado risk for today. And then it goes like stretching out to Liberal and stuff, and then yeah. Alright, now let's go on to wind. Let's go on to wind in a second here. Alright. Wind. We got a large region of wind. We got a 5% risk from like almost to the Rio Grande, South Texas, all the way up from most of Oklahoma, most of Kansas, most of Missouri, very west and Nebraska, most of Nebraska, half of South Dakota, the very western quarter of Iowa. Then it kind of goes like through like the Piedmont Valley region and like Kentucky, and like very south like of the Rust Belt, and then it kind of exits out like that. And then 15% risk for parts like central North Texas, and then again, I did not mean to do that, sorry. And like South Texas, and Kansas Oklahoma border, all the way up through like central Nebraska up until like parts of South Dakota. Then again, like then another 10% risk from like Evansville, Indiana. That kind of goes up for like the southern half of like almost all of Kentucky, southern half of West Virginia, almost all of Virginia, and then southern Delaware and parts of North Carolina and South Maryland. Got 30% risk right here, and like East Virginia. Then another on the Kansas Nebraska border. Yeah, that's it for That's it for wind. Yeah, alright, let's go on to hail. For hail, it's a big region from like south, 5% from south, the same thing as the wind thing, south of Texas, and it goes all the way up through most of Oklahoma, most of Missouri, most of Iowa, a little bit of Minnesota, most of South Dakota, most of almost all of Nebraska, and then it goes out to the same regions like South Rust Belt, Kentucky, all that regions like before. I'll show you in a second. This is a voiceover, so this might be not perfectly aligned with the movements. Alright, there we go. Kind of goes up through there, and then no, not yet. Oh, there we go. And then, it goes up for all of Kentucky, all of West Virginia, and all of Virginia, most of West Virginia, and we got a 50% risk, a little hatch risk, from northern Texas. The hatch risk is like in northern Texas, but the 15% risk goes up through most of Oklahoma, most of Kansas, a little bit of Missouri and stuff, and then the next thing, Nebraska and South Dakota too, and then a hatch risk again for like parts of like northern Kentucky, and then again the east of Virginia, and then Then we got a 30% hatch risk from like northern Kansas and like central Kansas to like a lot of Nebraska and like parts of South Dakota. And so that's basically it. That's basically it for the thing. But guys, hope you enjoyed that video. See you in the next one. I hope you all stay safe because this is a big storm. And I'm doing a band concert for my school during this. You saw nothing. I'm not playing Gacha Life, totally. Yeah.